After an 0-2 start, almost no New Orleanians saw this Saints season coming. But an 8-game win streak, along with a talented bunch of young players, have this team poised for a deep playoff run. But in order to do that, they've got to get past a very familiar rival. We'll break it all down tonight as the Saints get back to playing football in January for the first time in 4 years.
From Channel 4, this is an Eye on the Black and Gold Wildcard Special.
Now, under Sean Payton, the Saints have never lost a home playoff game. They're 4-0 with Carolina coming to town for a Sunday afternoon date. I'm Doug Mouton. Welcome to our Eye on the Black and Gold Wildcard Special, and we want to know what you think. Check our Facebook page now. We have 2 polls up. Who wins Sunday and who represents the NFC in the Super Bowl? The answers later in the show. Of course, the Saints and the Panthers have already played twice this season. 2 Saints wins, and those wins were instrumental in New Orleans' success this season. At the time, we didn't really get the significance of the Week 3 win over Carolina. After 2 terrible efforts to open the season, it was more, okay, maybe the season won't be a disaster. As it turns out, that win marked a major step forward.
We knew that, man, we were just that close, so much closer than I think most people give us credit for. And you just needed the validation of like going out there and getting a W as a result of it, and so really I think there was like a 2-game stretch there, it was, all right, we're on the road, we're Carolina, and then we're on a plane to London, and there's that Miami game, and then we're bye week, and then it's like, all right.
And that feeling stretched into 8 straight wins. And in the middle of some post-Thanksgiving stumbles, another double-digit win over Carolina. And against the Panthers, the Saints beat them at their game. Carolina finished the regular season 3rd in the NFL in rushing defense. Their 2 worst games by far. The 2 games against the Saints, when New Orleans rang up 149 and 148 rushing yards. The Saints finished 5th in the NFL in rushing offense.
I think one of the biggest things that you do not really see around the league is how, hard these receivers block. They're best in the tail to get blocks down the field. Just stay on the block, and that's what turns a good run game into a great run game.
And the great run game has allowed Drew Brees to play smarter. He threw fewer passes than any season in 7 years, and he finished 2nd in the NFL in quarterback rating.
I think at the end of the day, what has it done for me? Well, it doesn't force me to have to take as many chances.
Take fewer chances, run the ball, and rely on a defense that's made a dramatic improvement. The Saints have more than doubled their number of interceptions, moving from 27th in the league last year to 3rd this season. And they've gone from 27th to 7th in team sacks with 42. And Sunday, they'll have another weapon, Superdome noise, which made a huge difference in the Week 16 win over the Falcons.
I don't know if the fans understand how much impact they actually have on the game.
How so?
That's like an extra defender. I mean, you taking away the communication from an offense, that's a big advantage.
And you could see that in the Atlanta game.
You can see that. You can see it.
You just felt the energy. We feed off that, especially defense. We use outside hand signals and whatnot, but for them, you want to make those plays for the crowd and give them even more hype, especially on 3rd down. You can't even hear yourself think sometimes, but you just got to enjoy that and cherish it because the fans are behind you, the city behind you. You just want to win for them.
The Saints have won 7 in a row at home and are 6.5-point favorites to get number 8 Sunday in the playoffs. And the injury we've been watching all week, Saints left tackle Teron Armstead. He was limited again today. He is questionable for Sunday. He is a difference maker. We'll be watching the inactive list closely, hoping Armstead is not on it. That comes out about an hour and a half before kickoff. Now, the Carolina Panthers will be healthier than in either of the first 2 matchups against the Saints. Tight end Greg Olsen will play, and 5-time Pro Bowl center Ryan Khalil says he'll play too. Neither played in the first 2 Saints-Panthers matchups. Now, the Saints offensive line has been a strength all season, but certainly better with Teron Armstead. Andrew Doak joins us live outside the Superdome with more on that. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Doug. Yeah, Drew Brees has had an option this year that he hasn't had in certain seasons with the Saints, the ability to be able to hand it off, particularly, obviously, because of Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. They've been so dynamic but it's allowed Drew Brees to be like a point guard. And if Brees has been the point guard, it's really been their left tackle, Teron Armstead, who's been like a big power forward, being able to set screens, open up lanes for these guys to go and score. And while Brees may lead the offense, Armstead is the diesel fuel that's driving the Saints O-line.
I feel like the last 2 times we played Carolina, it's been Pete at left tackle, Senio at left guard. You know, we're fortunate enough to have some flexibility selecting Ramczyk when we did, and that trade ended up being a huge plus for us. You know, there's been a lot of fluctuation with the O-line, and I credit those guys for, you know, handling it that week, and we'll have a plan. I think you know, Tron's a great competitor.
I just try to help the team win. I don't look at any statistics. I try to lead my guys, especially up front. Try to push people, but I don't look at anything statistically. I just try to do my best to help the team win.
And according to our sports photographer, Adam Ney in the Ney Sports Bureau, in the 10 games that Armstead has played for the Saints this season, they're averaging over 40 more rushing yards per game, which is a significant difference. Doug?
Yeah, all right, Andrew. Look, I'm going to ask everybody on the show tonight. You are up first. Who do you like Sunday?
I really like the Saints. Look, I think they've just been the more consistent team. I think they showed that in the previous 2 matchups. I think Carolina could say, look, with Greg Olsen, we're going to be a different offense. But I think the Saints defense could say the same thing with Marshawn Lattimore, who wasn't a part of the last 2 games. I think the Saints offense has a little bit more firepower, and Cam Newton for the Panthers has just been a mixed bag. So I like the Saints 31-24. A lot of points scored in the Superdome on Sunday, but I think the Saints get it done. Doug?
All right, thanks, Andrew. Coming up, much of the credit for the Saints' turnaround has to go to their spectacular draft class, including 2 Rookie of the Year candidates in Alvin Kamara and Marshawn Lattimore. We'll look at just how much they've meant to the team this season. And later, we'll get the Carolina perspective on why this game hinges on the performance of one polarizing Panther. It could go down as the Saints' best draft ever. Tackle Ryan Ramczyk and safety Marcus Williams have been starters and huge contributors all season. Then Alex Anzalone, Trey Hendrickson, and Al-Quadin Muhammad have all shown potential, but 2 guys have been the best rookie pair in football, as Ricardo LeCompte reports.
To say Alvin Kamara and Marshawn Lattimore had decent rookie seasons would be an understatement. The 2 NFL newbies played a huge role in the Saints' success this year.
I just do what's asked of me, you know. Whatever I can do to help the team win, I do.
We came in, you know, we did what we were supposed to do, you know, as rookies, you know, just helping the team any way we could.
Kamara, a 3rd-round pick, led the NFL in yards per carry this season, and the dual-threat back made NFL history by becoming just the 2nd rookie to score at least 5 rushing, 5 receiving, and a kickoff return touchdown in a season. AK teamed up with Mark Ingram to become the first running back duo in league history to each surpass the 1,500 yards from scrimmage mark.
I feel like the impact that Alvin's had on his team, the impact that in the run game, the pass game, the return game, I feel like he's the clear front runner for the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Not being biased because he's my teammate or he's my dog, but just things he's able to accomplish. You know, I think he deserves it.
Lattimore, the 11th overall pick in the 2017 draft, gave the Saints the shutdown corner it's yearned for the last 2 seasons. He leads all rookies with 5 interceptions and ranks 2nd in passes defended. Lattimore, the only rookie defender named to the Pro Bowl.
Going to follow number 1s each Sunday in, Sunday out. And those guys are not having explosive plays or game-changing plays because he took those guys away. So for him, you know, he already made himself validated for that.
And these 2 sensational starters both have the chance to become Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year, making it the first time since 1967 2 teammates have swept the awards.
Anytime I see something on Twitter anywhere about him, like Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, whatever, I mean, I'm retweeting it. You know, he deserves it. You know, he's a baller.
Me and AK, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. You know, that's what I want. That's what we all want. Not just us, the whole team, you know. And I feel like our play, you know, speaks for itself.
Now this season, Lattimore and Kamara combined for 11 Rookie of the Week awards and 3 NFL Rookie of the Month honors. Lattimore is shoo-in for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Kamara will face some competition from Kansas City's Kareem Hunt for the Offensive Award, but I think if you talk to all the Saints players, I think their vote goes to Kamara.
No doubt about it. Look, Saints have a ton of first and second year players playing key roles Sunday. Who do you like? It's a young team.
It is a young team, and there is something to say about playoff experience going into this, and the Panthers have a ton of it. They are the most experienced team in the NFC, 187 cumulative games played by everyone on this roster.
But
also, yeah, but, and this is a big but, sometimes talent just wins. Wins out in the end. And I think this is just a bad matchup for the Panthers. I think the Saints win. I think it's a close game. I think the Saints get a late score, probably win 34-31.
Love it. Yes, I agree. I think the Saints win. Thanks, Ricardo. And before the Saints and the Panthers kick off Sunday, the location of the divisional round games will be set. Atlanta is at L.A. Saturday night. The Eagles are the top seeds. The Vikings are the number 2 seeds. So if Atlanta wins Saturday, the Falcons would travel to Philadelphia, and the Saints-Panthers winner would then go to Minnesota. If Los Angeles wins, the Rams go to Minnesota, and the Saints-Panthers winner heads to Philadelphia. And I know this is a hard pill to swallow for Saints fans, but pull for the Falcons. If the Saints and Atlanta each win twice, the NFC Championship game is in New Orleans. And joined by our friend Joel Erickson, who covers the Saints, of course, for our partners at The Advocate. All right, look. 2 times the Saints have beaten this team. I know you always hear about they can't beat a team 3 times. I think that's ridiculous. The Saints clearly have a matchup edge, and the way they've been able to run the ball against the Panthers has really been eye-opening, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really remarkable given that Carolina's defense is kind of built around that. They're built around their front 7. They're built around winning that at the line of scrimmage. And on top of that, on top of the run game, Carolina's really struggled against the pass now for about a month and a half. So this is a defense it's the Carolina defense. Luke Kuechly's there, but the numbers they're putting up aren't Carolina numbers.
And on the offensive side, Cam Newton, and I know you can't judge him just by his passing numbers, but he has not put second in the NFL in interceptions thrown. He hasn't been good on that side either.
No, it's not just the interceptions too. You get like Jameis Winston was a guy, he's going to throw some interceptions, but he's going to pick up some yards. Cam has thrown less than 200 yards in 7 of his last 9 games. I mean, you really got to make up for it in the run game to do some stuff. And the thing about it is this Saints defense has kind of feasted on guys like that, quarterbacks like that all season, which might be why they've had so much success against Carolina so far.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Saints have had a ton of success against Carolina. The one weapon the Panthers didn't have was Greg Olsen, who's one of the NFL's best pass-catching tight ends, can get up a seam like few guys. How much of a difference can that one guy make in the offense?
He can make a lot, especially just based on the history of what Olsen's done against New Orleans. Over his last 6 starts against New Orleans, he's averaging 6.7 catches and 82 yards a game. Generally, that matchup's been Kenny Vaccaro. The Saints don't have Kenny Vaccaro. He's obviously out. So you wonder, how are they going to do it? Are we going to play Von Bell on him? Are the Saints going to play Raphael Bush? Is it going to be some combination zone thing? Obviously, Dennis Allen's done a pretty good job on tight ends all year. I can't think of a tight end having a huge game. But Olsen is a different story, and he's got something against the Saints, or he has in the past.
How surprised are you overall by the defensive turnaround by the Saints? Just a couple of numbers. The sacks have gone from 27th in the NFL to, I think, 7th. The interceptions have more than doubled. To me, 2 guys that nobody really talks about are Tyler Davison and Ken Crawley, who have had great seasons, but they have gotten so many contributions by so many guys. How surprised are you from where we sat at the beginning of the season to where this defense is now?
Well, I think the one thing is, last year, their quarterback hits was far and away the most that they've had basically since the NFL really started tracking that statistic. But they didn't have the sacks. And that usually means that there's a disconnect in the coverage, that guys are getting pressure, they can't get home. So you add a Marshawn Lattimore. Ken Crawley emerges seemingly out of nowhere, especially after being inactive the first 2 weeks. And I think the other guy who's really important, and we kind of saw it a little bit on Sunday, is Marcus Williams. There's not, when big plays happen, they don't go for touchdowns because Williams is generally there. He's running the guy out of bounds or making a tackle. I think there's a lot of stuff he does too where he takes stuff away that you don't see because the ball never comes out and goes down the field. So I think they improved that coverage, and it allowed them to get the pressure that Allen was already getting, now gets to get home.
Right, and I suspect we're going to have a chance to talk again after this game. I think the Saints win Sunday. What do you think?
I think the Saints are going to win again. Like you said, the old cliche is it's hard to beat a team 3 times, but the statistics say it's really not.
No.
So I think it's just a good matchup for the Saints. It seems like it matches up well. I think we're going to be paying attention on that Saturday game to see where they might be headed next week.
I agree 100%. I think the Saints keep playing beyond this Sunday. Joel, terrific job as always. We're back with more of our Eye on the Saints postseason special in a minute. Still ahead, we'll analyze the matchup with someone who covers the Panthers and why Cam Newton's inconsistency is such a concern for Carolina. And later, your predictions for how the Saints will do Sunday, and if you think they'll be the team representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
I think especially with a division team, everybody knows each other so well that, you know, games go back and forth regardless of records or how good a team is, and it's one of those situations, they know us, we know them, and we just got to go out there and play our game.
We wanted to get the Charlotte take on this game, so we turned to the sports director from WCNC, our sister station in Charlotte, Nick Carboni. All right, Nick, the Panthers lost the first 2 games, and neither one of them were really close by the end. What has to go different for the Panthers to have a shot Sunday?
Doug, they have to tackle. I think they missed 12 tackles at least in their last game against the Saints in New Orleans, namely against one Alvin Kamara, who scored his first career touchdown here in Charlotte early in the season, a game that got away from the Panthers and, as you know, sent the Saints on their hot streak, won 8 straight after that. That's been the big thing around here this week, is deliver the hit and actually wrap up. And beyond that, cut down on the mistakes. Too many turnovers the first 2 games in all phases last time out for the Panthers. So those are the 2 big keys for Carolina this week.
Yeah, when you look at it statistically, the Panthers were terrific all year, stopping the rush, 3rd in the NFL, and their 2 worst games of the year were the 2 games against the Saints. Saints got 148 and 149 yards in those 2 games. That's sort of where this game is going to be played out, right? Right up front, where the Panthers are seemingly at their strongest, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and you're dead on. This Panthers team has been particularly adept at tackling running backs and not allowing yards after contact, except against Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, and at one point earlier in the year, your old friend Adrian Peterson. So I think it's going to come down to some of these veteran guys in the 2nd and 3rd levels of the Panthers defense to get that done, specifically when you talk about Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly, and in the back end, safety Kurt Coleman, a really prideful guy who had some really bad swings and misses, especially against Kamara.
And Cam Newton has certainly not had a great year overall for the Panthers. He's 24th in quarterback rating in the NFL, 2nd in the NFL in interceptions, which is something you don't want. How do you view his season and where he stands in his development as a quarterback right now?
Yeah, when you look at it from, you know, pure passing numbers, pure quarterback numbers, he hasn't had a good season. Listen, Cam's right. Running is his edge. He's got to use his legs to be effective. And when you look at it from that perspective, he's hit his career marks in both rushing yards and attempts this year. I don't even think Ron Rivera saw that coming, but that's the way they've had to go. And I think if you look at it from kind of a balance standpoint where, okay, you let him be himself. He's not like anybody else. He's had a pretty good year. I wouldn't say he's had a great year, but I'd say he's not had as bad of a year as people just looking at those passing numbers, those ratings, and he had his worst one against Atlanta in Week 17. If you look strictly at those, he's had a terrible year, but I think he's what makes this offense go. He's what makes this team go, and playing like that, you know, maybe 25 throws a game, 180 passing yards, 60 rushing yards, that could be enough to get this team a couple wins in the playoffs.
It certainly could. Well, look, you brought it up. Let's get a prediction from you. From watching this team all year, what do you think happens Sunday? Give me a prediction.
I think the Panthers are going to win. I've got no allegiance to the Panthers. I just cover the team. You know as well as I do, we're all dead tired at this point, so I'm not sure when it's going to end, but I just think this team's a mixed bag. They had a dud in Atlanta. They didn't play well against Tampa Bay, and now it's a veteran group with a really small window to win that's shrinking and shrinking every year. Julius Peppers, for instance, on a 1-year deal here. I think this group is going to find a way to get it done. I think it's going to be a really close game, though.
Interesting perspective from Charlotte. Nick, thanks for joining us. We're back with more of our Eye on the Saints postseason special in a minute. Time now for your opinions, and let's be honest, we knew Saints fans would pick the Saints to win. The question was, at what percentage? It is huge. Saints fans think the Saints will win. 95% of them pick the Saints, 5% pick Carolina. And look, I asked Ricardo, Andrew, Joel, and Nick Carboni from Charlotte. The only one who picked the Panthers was Nick Carboni. So we're at 80% among the media members in the show. A couple of comments we got from Saints fans. Steven writes, dome field advantage is too hard to overcome for the Panthers. Who dat? I agree with that. And Kim writes, because our Cam is the real Superman. And I agree. I like our Cam better than their Cam. And then the big question, who represents the NFC in the Super Bowl? 89% of our viewers on our Facebook poll, completely unscientific, says the Saints will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. The Vikings get 5%, the Rams and the Eagles at 2%, and then the Panthers and Falcons at 1%, and then a couple of comments on that. Yes, 89% say Super Bowl. Vikings offense looks pretty good right now. That's Richie, one of the few Vikings people. And Michael says Saints Pats in the Super Bowl. Saints get back at Minnesota in the NFC Championship game, then Pats in the Super Bowl. Although Super Bowl is 2 words. Michael, remember that for next time. All right, thanks for watching our Eye on the Black and Gold Wildcard special. Don't forget, we'll break it all down for you Sunday night at 10:35 with Mike Detillier on 4th Down on 4. For Ricardo and Andrew, producer Danny Rockwell, photographer Adam Ney, and all of us here at Eyewitness Sports, I'm Doug Mouton. Thanks for watching and have a great night. We'll see you on Eyewitness News at 10.